Welcome back from the ad break, everybody. Welcome to more reading. Story time with Winter. Dunny lore time with Winter. Let's read this Myrta's story. Now that we have read her book in the Palace of Kings. The story of Myrta, taken from book 28b, translation Nick, first draft. In the time of Myrta, in the 196th year of his reign, Jolatha, his mother, came to him in his bedroom. Now it was well known throughout the city of Myrta and his craving lust for women. Oh, okay. And none knew this weakness, a weakness of choice is more literal, more than his own mother. So it was that Jolatha brought with her the woman Ramel, who worshipped the tree. Ramel's beauty was well known in Dunny, especially among those who worship the tree, and especially among the kings. Plural kings is here, although I don't know why. Maybe it implied the whole king's palace or history. Not sure. But as it was, though the king could have any object in Dunny, Ramel had been held from him by his mother until now, and she offered her son Ramel in exchange for her own purposes. But what are your purposes? The king asked. For do you think me so foolish as to give you anything you want for a mere woman? Of course not, my son, but as you know, you have watched Ramel from afar for many years. You have talked to your advisors and plotted the ways in which you could make her yours. But you have been unable even to look upon her so closely until this day that I have brought her to you. So do not think that I am so foolish as to believe that this woman is a mere woman. You have spoken truthfully. In fact, as I gaze upon her now, I have never imagined her to be so beautiful. She is like a statue without flaw. But even so, do you think I would give you whatever you wish for even a woman such as this? I don't know why, but something just calling someone a statue without flaw just does not sound like a compliment. That just sounds like you're objectifying them, and I don't like that. Now, Jolatha was cunning, and Myrta was eager for Ramel, and every day Jolatha brought the woman into the king's bedroom, and every day she offered her. So the woman Ramel in exchange for her own, she offered her son, the woman Ramel, in exchange for her own purposes. As the nights passed, Myrta became unsatisfied with those who were already his. He became spiteful of those who came to his bedroom, for none compared to the woman Ramel, whom his mother continued to withhold from him. And finally, he could resist his mother's arguments no longer. And Jolatha came to his bedroom with the woman Ramel, and the king Myrta began to speak. The woman has ruined my life. There is none like her in all of my ages, and you bring her to this room night after night. Those who I have found beautiful have faded in comparison to this one, and I no longer find pleasure in them. Therefore, I am no longer satisfied with anything, and I will not be satisfied until this woman is mine. What is it that you ask of me? Whatever it is, I will give. You have my word. Sounds like he's just in it for the chase, and like once he actually has what he wants, it doesn't become interesting anymore. So I imagine that Ramel will probably become uninteresting to him pretty soon as well. Very well, my son. I will talk to you tomorrow. And Jolatha gave the woman Ramel of the worshippers to the tree. And Jolatha gave the woman Ramel of the worshippers of the tree to her son. And Ramel was King Myrta's from that day forward. At dawn of the next day, Jolatha came to Myrta while he was still sleeping and told him her purposes. The Guild of Writers has long had their rules, their restrictions, and their ancient oaths, but you realize, my son, that these words are old now and no longer the ways of our people. Reef was responsible for them, and they are like a collar around our necks, growing ever tighter and preventing us from moving forward. It is time that we are freed. Even Myrta was disturbed, but there are none who would agree to this. The oath is as stone. It cannot be altered, for it has never been. And yet not only do you ask me to change the oath, but contradict the things it says. And Jolatha grew angry. Are you so foolish? Do you think I ask you to carry out the impossible? There is but one thing that must be changed, one thing that will give us freedom. It is the Dunny who have created the art as we know it, not Yavo. Thus, since it is true, it is us who can determine the rules of the art, not the ancient religious writings. They will view it as blasphemy, the king responded, but I will do as you say. And so the King Murta spoke to the Guild of Writers. His words were well crafted, often from his mother, and his arguments strong, for they too Jalotha gave him. And his effort was great, for there was no other woman besides Ramel, and it was the woman that he lived for. However, though many in the Guild of Writers were easily convinced by the sharp words of the king, there was one who was not. Grandmaster Tremal was old in age and wise beyond even his years, and his decision was hard. The word is a certain kind of stone that was considered to be the most hard and immovable, and he would not be moved. Never will we change what Elish has written in the oaths. Never will we change what we have spoken for generations. Never will we allow a crack to be opened in the great wall of our guild, for it is Terahi that you seek. Is it Terahi that you seek? But is Terahi not the reason we exist? For Tremal could see the plans of Jalotha even in the words of the king, and Tremal knew that if the ancient religious writings had not determined their fate, the hearts of men would rule, and there would be nothing to stop Jalotha from having her way. Tyranny. Thank you, tyranny. And so, for 3 days, Tremal stood to the words of the king. For 3 days, the king would return to his palace and receive new words from his mother. For 3 days, the anger of Jalotha burned against Tremal and grew stronger, and so it was that on the 4th day, when the king was no longer welcome to the guild, Grandmaster Tremal was found hanging from a tree, his body covered in blood. The king was sad when he heard the news, for he had held no bitterness in his heart toward Tremal. But when Jalotha heard the news, she was overjoyed and ordered the king to the Guild of Writers to change the oath and to carry out her own purposes. But as it was, the death of Tremal had breathed boldness into the guild, and in unison they denounced the wicked evil that had killed their Grand Master and vowed that the oaths of the guild would never be changed and that there would be no more discussions. So Jalotha devised other plans, for she knew that even she could not change such determination. The same word as used above, the hardened stoned guildsman. She could not change such determined guildsman. And King Murta lived with Ramel, and he was satisfied with all those who visited his room again. Even as he was filled with pleasure, Jalotha plotted evil, and the city in which he lived grew weak, possibly ready for a Dr. Watson review. Nice. Well, not nice. As stated, I don't particularly care for the way Merita was treating the women who he happened to like. Especially like, and then the thing is, that's the sad thing is like I am very much of the mindset that you need to be loyal to one person, but I understand that is a very cultural and very honestly a very controversial topic to talk about. And I even though I personally believe that I need to be loyal to someone, I understand that that's very different for other people. Other people have different ways that their mind works and stuff like that, and like even like potentially having an open relationship could also like it's very like, oh god, what the words I'm trying to search for are just not coming to me right now. Merthyr was greedy for women seemingly as much or even more than dragons are for treasure. Yeah. Now, treasures, I agree. You get as many treasures as you want. But I believe that lust is not for words. Relationships are complicated. That's that's what I'm trying to go for there. Like, like, it definitely seems like Murta was taking advantage of being king to be able to achieve his desire for as many women as he wanted to, and not for the, and he was not adhering to proper relationship conversation and dialogue to be able to communicate with his partners to figure out what they themselves wanted and to actually have a meaningful relationship. That is what I'm trying to get at. There is a lot of people, everyone has a very different understanding of relationships, to where some people can have multiple partners and be able to actually love and appreciate and care for all of them, while other I would say probably a majority are actually, or I wouldn't even say a majority, a lot of others would need that one person to be able to take care of and be a partner for in life. There it is. I knew it was down here. Is there anything else I can do, or am I gonna have to link it back? I'm probably gonna have to link it back, aren't I? Can I can't climb. This is when I wish I had wings. Whee! But that is the reason why we can go to the lower roof now. We can go to the lower roof, you're right. But that is the reason why I particularly don't approve of the way Murta was what is the lower roof? Of navigating his relationship, because it's very clear from the way he was going about it that he was not in it with the consent of his partners. He was more in it with control as king. You don't get to choose what I get to do because I am king, basically. Oh, wait. Huh? Oh, there are going to be some of these on the other... Oh, I need to go to all the dunny places I've been to. There's one up here on the lower roof, isn't there? Where are you at? There you are. Hi. I got all 15 I need. Nice. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to read the lower roof book. We're going to read the next 3 books in the Palace of Kings, and then we're going to go see what we can do with the Great Zero, now that we have all 15 that we need. So the next king book is Negin, which is the blue one on the middle table. The middle table. Middle table? King Negin. Okay. King Negin took the throne in 2356 DE at the age of 86. Negin did much to encourage the growth of the major guild of fine artists, as well as the seeking of other truths. The year 2500 DE, 1,000 years after the death of the great king, would mark the peak of what some would call the religious confusion. There were over 2,000 registered sects, and the original beliefs of Rhaenyra were known by very few. Negin was clearly not one of them. It is 2397 that most officially marks the start of the Dunny Renaissance. In that year, the EAMIS, the Amis Theater Company, hosted the first play written by the playwright Sireth, or Sireh. The play dealt with the Pinto War and the Great King himself, and was one which Negin praised. It ended up being sold out for 3 straight weeks. It marked not only the start of theater as a popular entertainment source within the culture, but also the beginning of the Pinto War subject, which would go on to become one of the most dealt with topics in the history of the art. In 2408, the 33-year-old musician Serum began selling out concert halls, marking the beginning of yet another career of one of the great Dunny artists. His music also dealt much with the great king, many times ridiculing him. Negin praised his people for being able to express their true feelings in such wonderful displays of art. In 2488, the first successful extrusion tests... I have a funny story about extrusion, but I will tell you that in a second. The first successful extrusion tests were carried out by the Guild of Miners, and to great applause from the public, Negan used the occasion to benefit everyone. He appointed the Guild of Miners as a major guild, replacing the Guild of Fine Artists. He then split the Guild of Fine Artists up into the Minor Guild of Sculptors, Artists, Actors, and Musicians. The split was to encourage growth in mining as well as the arts, two major causes of Negan throughout his reign. What? With the mining of the arts, two major causes of Negan throughout his reign. That's weird in the structure. His proposal was strongly supported by Sira and Iram, as well as other artists who viewed it as an excellent opportunity for the growth of their respective fields. In 2500, Negan proposed the construction of a new council chamber for the guilds. Somewhat surprising was that he suggested it should be built over the tomb of the Great King. The proposal was met with little opposition, and construction began 2 years later in 2502. The tomb of the Great King was barely visible, a tremendous symbol of what Dunny had become. Later, it was discovered that within the council chamber was a massive vault protected by puzzles of a sort. The tomb had always been known for its patterns, some of which were claimed to have prophetic messages. Negan apparently became enamored with the patterns and spread them throughout the unseen portions of the chamber, as well as the scene. Though the public knew very little of the vault at the time of construction years later, it was found to contain a tremendous amount of royal wealth, something Negan often publicly encouraged, of course. Most were not able to save the amounts Negan died, but still, or save the amounts Negan did, but still the idea of saving one's money for future generations was strongly encouraged by him. Negan died in 2533 at the age of 263, leaving the throne to his third son in memorial to Negan. Sira wrote another one of the more popular of his plays entitled Our Great King. It was the first play performed by the Minor Guild of Actors in 2535. Official Church registered a complaint. It seemed there was little heart behind it. Apparently, even a prophetess of Negan supported the proposition. Whew. Okay. You look through his telescope. And yeah, this is kind of the square where we're at, or where we were at. Right there, that's where the path goes down to like the broken area where we jumped off the side to get the marker. As Yeesha mentioned, Negan is the king that encouraged Kaddish thousands of years later to build the vault in his age to store all his treasures and cling to them. Got you. That's why there's the vault with all the treasures in Kaddish. And then that's the pathway up to the Palace of Kings. Okay. One more book down on the lore roof. And now, let's head back to the Palace of the Kings to complete the first half of the palace by finishing up some reading. Yes. Have I actually looked at this, like, middle section right here? Oh. There's not really anything in here. This is more just a pathway. I don't know why, but I was looking down at that from the lore roof, which you can see actually right up here, and I was thinking maybe that would look like some kind of like doorway or elevator or something. But nah, it's just a pathway through the middle of that structure. I got all the markers anyway. No further ones are going to show up now. That statement almost confirms that there's going to be more markers later. Okay. Which kind of scares me. Okay. King Hanash. Hanash took the throne in 2533 at the age of 66. Hanash's first major accomplishment was the ordering of the construction of the new Guild of Miners facility. The construction marked the first use of extrusion. Sorry, I completely forgot. The construction marked the first use of extrusion in construction, and work began in 2577 and finished in 2580, marked a much faster and more efficient means of building. So, anyway, before I forget. So, extrusion. I have a funny story of actually learning this word. It was because of Myst. Because of the extrusion test that Ikorus had in the side chamber, in the antechamber beside the dock, the topographical extrusion test. I was so confused whenever the young little wormling that I was went to go and read that, and I was like, what the hell is topographical extrusion? And I looked it up, and I learned what topographical meant, and I learned what extrusion meant. And they say video games can't teach you anything. But yeah, every time I see the word extrusion, I always think of Myst, because that's literally where I learned the word from. Anyway, Hanash had been a member of the Guild of Stonemasons before his coronation. As such, records point to him being extremely interested in the mining and construction technologies that were being pursued, as well as Hanash was one of the strongest proponents for expansion within the cave system. Though Hanan's push for expansion was not met with enthusiasm at the time, it was set to the foundation of the great expansion that would occur under the reign of his son Nedra, with the sculptor Lakir leading the charge. Hanash was apparently also very interested in pursuing better relationships with other cultures, often pushing for further interaction and increased trade. He not only opened up the rules on trade, but also pushed the cultural rules concerning relationships with those of non-Dunny blood. In 2709, 5 years after the death of his first wife, who died giving birth to his fourth son, Hanash married a woman of non-Dunny blood. The fact that the marriage was met with little opposition was a sign in itself of the relaxing attitude of the people toward the outsiders. The effect of such actions upon the culture was grand. Foreign materials were used much more in construction, as well as clothing and jewelry, and foreign music and art influence began to show itself in Dunny art of the day. It was apparently some thankfulness that Hanash's second wife did not bear him a son. Though the culture had relaxed, it is rather clear that the public did not want to even have to deal with the possibility of non-Dunny blood in the throne. In fact, one author went so far as to say, even had they borne a child, it would have made for a very uneasy public to have such a being living within the palace. Such a being living, that's some wording. Not even a person, that's just a being. If you don't have Dunny blood, you're not even a if you're not pure blood Dunny, you're not even. Wow. Okay. Perhaps taking the public's acceptance too far. Hanash died in 2779 at the age of 312, leaving his fourth son to rule. For real, Gen vibes. It is true, thanks to Moolah, I learned a lot of the English language more than from school. You're native German. That's awesome. That's actually really cool. Even though he wanted to marry Catherine, who was an outsider. Yeah. Yeah, he did, didn't he? Hypocrite much? No. Like legitimately, like that, the topic of learning extrusion and like you learning most of your English from Myst, from like part of the reason why I love the medium of video games so much, because it actually, like, yes, you have your brain rot video games that are out there. Of course you do. Like every medium has its brain rot. You have your brain rot TV shows, you have your brain rot movies, you have your brain rot music, you have your brain rot video games. But then you also, like, every medium also has like its actual like real artsy, real important, real significant and educational parts too, which is what I'm super interested in being able to take a interactive medium such as video games and being able to learn and grow and evolve your understanding of the world by interacting with a video game. Hello, Nick. There is indeed a dirty spot, and I think I spotted a little kobold over there. You want to go get soft tacos later? I keep bringing up that meme. Uppies. Ah, yeah, uppies. Of course. Come here. I'll give you uppies. Wah! King Nedra took the throne in 2779 at the age of 75. Nedra had been a member of the minor guild of sculptors at the same time as the great sculptor Lakir. As the result, the two were excellent friends. As Nedra took the throne, Lakir, who was 4 years younger, was starting to be recognized. Those who had seen his work were already claiming him as one of the greatest artists Dunny had ever seen, even though most had never heard his name. Nedra had always been a proud supporter of cave expansion, and once he gained the throne, made it his mission to make sure that his people felt the same way. Nedra's 3 older brothers were very close to him and in fact took the role of his closest advisors. Each was a guild master, the oldest with the Guild of Miners, the second with the Guild of Stonemasons, and the third with the minor Guild of Architects. Because of their positions, each ended up having a great effect on the accomplishments of Nedra. Most of the evidence supports the fact that it was not Nedra's persuasive speeches or motivational abilities alone that pushed the expansions, but also the fantastic skill and talent of Lakir. He only needed one chance to prove his skill to the public, and Nedra gave him that opportunity in 2807, with the design for a monument to the discovery of the Book of Bereni. After that, Lakir, along with Nedra and his brother, presented a plan for a new residential district. From that point forward, it seemed as though expansion could not have been stopped even if someone had tried. Throughout the 221 years of Nedra's reign, 4 new districts were begun, including the residential Jaren and the elite of the elite districts Kali, the business districts of Kali, and the industrial district managing importation and manufacturing of foreign goods, Nurel district. In 2916, the Guild of Merchants announced industrial extrusion, allowing for further improvements in construction methods, including unistructural buildings. Nedra passed away in the year 3000 at the age of 296. He had 2 daughters, but no sons of his own to get the throne. Instead, he chose the oldest son of his brother to succeed. For unistructural buildings, instead of joining the blocks that had been used up to that point, unistructural construction allowed for the weaving of different stone almost like a sweater, as one historian described it, making it appear as a single seamless piece of stone. Oh, interesting. And the oldest son of his brother was King Rakari. Rakari took the throne in 3000 at the age of 81. In the same year of Rakari's coronation ceremony, a man by the name of Tevhar was born. Beginning in 3077, many say he defined Rakari's reign more than Rakari himself. Tevhar was an ardent follower of the great king and spent his entire growing up studying the king's teachings and words. By the time he was 65, he was apparently appalled at the state of his people, especially pertaining to religious matters. Though he began on a small scale, in a matter of years, Tevhar became one of the most influential men in Dunny history. He was a powerful leader and a gifted speaker and a tremendous motivator, and by 3077, a well-known name. It was 3077 that Tevhar publicly denounced the sects and his people's, including government's, lack of faith in the principles and laws of Yavo that they were founded upon. He often pointed to the council chamber and other government structures that now covered the tomb of the great king as a symbol of what the hearts and souls of Dunny had become. There is no longer time for religion, as government and power have stolen our love, he stated numerous times. Most of the public seemed to agree with Tevhar, especially concerning the tomb of the great king and its covering. They believed that they should never have allowed it to happen. Although not remembered as a great event in itself, most historians agree that credit should be given to Rakari's reaction to the teachings of Tevhar. Rakari, at first, was infuriated at Tavar's speeches and his apparent disapproval of the culture. In return, he denounced Tavar and his teachings, and even threatened to have him imprisoned. In 3081, Rakari supposedly attended one of Tavar's speeches in an effort to ridicule it, and gave the other side to the public. Instead, he ended up in a public debate with Tavar. According to witnesses, it was a debate that Tavar clearly won. Though Tavar handled the debate with the king as best he could, at times his words were rather harsh, words to which the king had no response, and ended up bringing quite a bit of ridicule upon himself instead of Tavar. However, instead of ordering Tavar's death, which he probably could have done, he returned to his palace and thought about what he had heard. 5 days later, Rakari personally invited Tavar to the palace, and later that same day announced that he had chosen Tavar as his main prophet, and asked forgiveness from his people for the wrongs not only of himself, but of the kings before him. Those who personally witnessed the speech of King Rakari left the event transformed. It was not long until their personal transformations began to change the entire culture. By 3100, 600 years after government records showed 2,500 registered sects, there were 47 sects in existence. Only 10 of those sects' memberships was greater than 500. The public seemed to return again to the beliefs of the culture that had been founded upon those that Rena Reef had taught and the great king had expanded upon. The people again were unified, and much work was done to join the classes of rich and poor that by that time had already begun to separate. There was major renovation of deteriorating districts, mostly the poor, and construction of a new theater company and concert hall in the Baleri district, which had once been one of the poorer districts in the entire city. In 3112, Rakari announced, with Tavar by his side, plans for grand renovations and almost complete reconstruction of the Great Temple. Rakari also announced that the old line of the Great Zero was accurate and should be honored again. The temple itself was to take advantage of handheld extruder technology that had been developed in 3092, as well as the great artist Fali was to paint inside of the temple. As it turned out, it was Fali's final masterpiece as he passed away in 3123. 6 months after the completion of the temple, for the remaining years of Rakari's reign, expansion continued both outside and inside the cavern. New mining technology was seemingly announced annually, bringing with it great prestige to the relatively newly formed Major Guild of Miners. I still can't get over the Minor Guild of Miners stuff. Anyway, sorry. Tavar passed away at the young age of 218 in 3218. Rakari is so greatly disturbed at his passing that he ordered 5 days of national sadness. Wow. Talk about a turnaround. There were minor protests from a few of the still remaining sects who obviously did not follow the order, but for the most part, Dunny mourned with Rakari over the loss of the prophet. Rakari died a year after Tavar at the age of 300, leaving the throne to his firstborn son, Tajara. Welcome back, Sonic. I also have an exhausted voice. I have been reading for most of the time you have gone. According to Prophet Shama, Rakari was greatly affected by the words. He refused to speak to anyone for 2 days following the debate. Though women usually took the roles of prophets, the choice of Tavar was one that no one argued. Shama herself was said to be thrilled that Tavar's wisdom was being sought. Oh, and that artist, what was it? Fali was considered to be the greatest artist of the Dunny Renaissance. Interesting. Okay. Well, there we have it. That's half of the Palace of Kings. And now that we have 15, this is also how far you've read yourself. Oh, so you haven't even finished reading it. Oh, no. Oh. Give me just a moment. I'm going to go grab some more water because I have run out of water. And then when I get back, it's not even gonna be that long. I just got to run to my fridge real quick. But when I get back, we're going to head to the Great Zero machine thing and get it going, hopefully. Oh, got you. Okay, cool. That cherry obituary hits different after you've been reading all day. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to head to, there's actually a linking book right here. I have no idea if I've linked with this one yet, but there we go. There's that now. Oh, yeah. Is that the room with the most reading ever in a Myst game? Just out of pure curiosity. Okay. Let us head to... You would definitely say so? Okay. 3-0? I think that's where we need to go. Yes. Actually, no. What's not where we... I forget. The place where we actually want to go is not actually listed on a book. So we actually need to head to... Kirill. Because Kirill is where we can actually access the room. Yeah, okay, yeah, the input device is there as well. I was wanting to reread the instruction book to kind of get an idea of what we were going to be doing next in the sequence that we need to do. I can go from that place from Relto as well. Well, I will know that for next time. If there is a next time. There might be a next time. I'm not sure. Forgive me if I'm a little bit silent for a moment as my voice recovers. I think this is the right one, right? No. Did I pass it? No. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Okay. All of it wasn't there when Myst Online first started. As more showed up, each patch of the DRC typed them up. Oh, got you. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, hold on. Okay, once I have key version 2.0, yep, that's what we've done. Once I have uploaded 5 GZMs, I will find the new link in my Nexus. That link will take me to the Great Zero Courtyard. Yep, 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 yep. The Calibration Center located beyond the courtyard cannot be accessed unless the key has registered more GZMs, which we have. We've registered all 15 we need. Registering is on the same list as above. You'll have a new set of faint lights. As GZMs are found, they will turn solid again. Once the second set of GZMs have been uploaded in either courtyard or the antechamber, the doors leading to the Calibration Center will automatically open for you from that point forward. The Great Zero Calibration Center. Most important to the Calibration Center are the 4 Great Zero maintenance units, GZMU, toward the back, as well as the Calibration Imager, the CI. Once you have uploaded 20 GZ markers in upload machines, you will in either the antechamber or the courtyard, you will be allowed access to the machines and the ability to find a new type of marker known as a Calibration Great Zero marker. Is that 20 counting the... Because we have 5 plus the 15, so that's 20. A new type of marker called a Calibration Great Zero marker, CGZM. Once I have reached the Great Zero Calibration Center, my key only needs to finish the calibration process by synchronizing calibrations with the Great Zero itself. There are 4 machines that enable me to carry out the final task. I will need to retrieve a coordinate from one of the 3 machines, the 4th is not yet available, and find a single marker at that coordinate. Similar to the early markers, it will only become visible when you have entered a certain radius. You will have to touch it. After you have found the first one, you will need to return to the calibration center and insert my key into one of the machines. At that time, you will be able to read one of the 3 coordinates on my key. At that point, the 4th... okay, so I get the 3. After the 3rd one, the 4th one will become available. Then then my key will be calibrated. Okay, this is where it gets a little bit confusing. Let me go actually input the coordinates, and I will see what journals I've been finding also get new entries as time went by. Yeah, we were talking about that last time with the Douglas Sharper journal. Supposedly getting new entries, even though mine does not seem to be working correctly, possibly. Anyway, let's head back to ReZero. And then we will put our 15 markers in. And we will look at the new area and see if what we just read in the journal makes sense about the GZZMs, the central imager, and all that. So let us put... Okay, so that's all 15. So does that mean the doors back here are open now? Yes, it does. Okay. Oh, this looks scary. Are these... These symbols match symbols that are on my key. The way they built the game and story was that things happened in a way that felt like it was a real place in our world, hence references to real events. That is really cool. Especially like all the football references and stuff like that. Okay, we'll come back here. Ooh. That looks important. Why are you blinking that symbol? Is that a place? I don't think that's a place I've been to yet, is it? There's a linking book right there. Or like another place from the Nexus that I can go to. But I don't think we've been there yet. Can I go through these doors? No, these doors don't open yet. Okay. We're gonna... take a picture of that for future reference. Okay. I guess let's stick my paw in one of these and see what happens. Oh, I can't. Hold on. I press a button. Oh no, I press... Okay. What? What the heck? I'm looking at my key. There's a little light now. That's the mute button. Oh, there is a little marker. There's one. I didn't mean to take a picture of that. Five 598635777. 598635777. You know what this is reminding me of? This is reminding me of the coordinates we got in Sharper's journal. How do I read the coordinates though? Five 598635777. 598635777. 5986357. Got 59863.57.77. Not 77. This is the circle, and this is Sharper. Why you recommend with the circle one? It gives you the direction coordinate. Five 5777. So wait, do I... Which direction? Okay, the question I have then is, how do I know what the starting point is for the direction? Wait, what? Notebook I read describes 3 symbols in the key as direction, distance, and elevation. Oh! Oh! Direction, distance, and elevation. That makes a lot more sense than what I was... Okay. Well, I was originally picturing it as this is like x-axis, this is y-axis. So that's why I was really confused why direction was necessary. But if it's direction, distance, and elevation, it's the direction of where I'm facing, the distance to go, and then the elevation up or down. And I have to unlock them one by one. Okay. So... The first one I just have to search the marker since I don't have the coordinate. Okay. That was my next question, is how do I actually know what the coordinate, how the coordinate function even works? So I literally just have to go and search through the entirety of Denny in a scavenger hunt to try to find it. It almost looks like maybe this should be some kind of like reference to like which good numbers for directions. Let's head to Relto and let's check out some of these areas then. Okay, so that's the ReZero area. This is possibly a closed off area. Definitely is. Don't see anything up here though. Is that... That's the lore roof. That's the Palace of Kings. Why is the lighting so weird? The lighting looks so weird when I'm right here. Okay. Well, there's nothing here, so let's go ahead and head back. We could check out the library again, or the gallery again, I mean. It's a different area I'm looking at that isn't accessible, which is why the lighting was weird. It looks almost like it should be the Palace of Kings. Okay. Yep, not seeing anything here in the gallery. Oh, and there's the two doors that I can... Okay, I see. It's kind of weird that they don't let you, like, once you, like, actually unlock Dunny to be able to come in through that way. They are functional. Yeah. And then this looks another one of those just kind of closed off areas. Back with the choir music. Oh, absolutely. Can't get enough of the choir music. Oh, hello. Are you the one I seek? I think you are. I think you are the one that I seek. There's the bridge. There's the broken down district. Actually, those are the doors that lead to the gallery, right? It's so cool now that I'm like starting to like figure out like how everything kind of links together. Pun intended. How everything links together in this world. It's kind of interesting. It's really interesting. Okay. So now that we have that, I guess let's head back to odd. Wait, how do I... Yellow book is the Nexus. Okay. Let's head to ReZero. We're going to go ahead and go on another quick ad break. When we get back, we will continue in our search for these coordinates. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm really not sure how much I am enjoying the aspect of running around trying to find essentially collectibles to progress in a Myst game. Like, I really want like puzzles and like world, like understanding the world puzzles and not just running around finding slightly hidden collectibles. That's why I was really hoping, like, with the coordinate system, we were gonna like start getting a puzzle to like figure out like where or how to decipher exactly where they were instead of just running around aimlessly. Of course, thankfully, thanks to Quick Turn, it's not exactly aimlessly, it's just giving us like slight nudges in the correct direction to keep us progressing, which I do appreciate in this circumstance. It really does seem like these should be like direction. There should be like some way to, like, obviously I know that we can decipher these dummy numerals based on playing rhythm and understanding the number system, but like have like some in-game way to actually understand the dummy numerals here to decipher and figure out some way to figure out the orientation. And it had to be remembered that all the puzzles were supposed to be with multiple people, and they had like only a year or less to redesign all of them to function in single player because of Ubisoft. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. I do have to keep reminding myself that this game was meant to be played as a multiplayer game, and because of that, a bunch of the puzzles are redesigned. Sometimes feels very poorly, like, to be able to function as a single player game. And I think, unfortunately, this definitely seems to be on the more poor side with just the scavenger hunt, basically. Which, I mean, it's fun. It's still fun. Just not in the traditional Myst ways that it's fun. It's still fun because we're still able to go out and explore and experience Dunny in a very free manner, honestly, comparatively. But it's also just feels very un-Myst-like because of how little puzzling there is actually going on. In Moolah, the markers are examples. The markers are, for example, more like a game or timed challenge. And how actually collect them all. You can even create your own marker games and share them. Oh, that's fun.